Minnesota Vikings put pads on for the first time in the 2025 season. What were the biggest takeaways? How did JJ McCarthy look? Did the defense really ball out? And who are the UDFAs that grabbed my attention? I spent time in TCO Performance Center this afternoon, and I got all the scoops here on the newest episode of The Real Forno Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Real Forno Show, hosted by the one and only Tyler Forness. A to Z Sports sought him out to be their Minnesota Vikings reporter and NFL analyst. And he's a proud contributor over at SKOL North's Purple Daily. Tyler is also the captivating host of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungry on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, and a founding member of Vikings First and SKOL.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Real Forno Show, sponsored by your friends at Underdog Fantasy. My name is Tyler Forness. With me, as always, in the top left corner, producer Dave. And Dave, we have gotten you from Austin, Texas, all the way up to St. Louis. That means you're halfway to training camp.
That's right, halfway.
One of these years...
It was probably cooler for you up there, only not by much.
One of these years, we're going to have to get you all the way up here to training camp, and then we can figure out a way to do like a live show together, because that's the one thing we haven't done yet is a live show, just you and me. Like I mean like live as in person,
right?
As I'm quick finagling one thing as we get ready for the show here.
Hey, pads came on today. Did you hear popping and smacking and hits?
Okay, so not really. And it's a little bit annoying. And I'll tell you why. So last year, the practice fields were parallel to the bleachers where the fans sit. And then on the perpendicular side of the field. So like, think of like math. X-axis is where we're sitting. Y-axis is where like K-Fan has their spot under the tent and season ticket holders are. They flippy-dooed them this year, and it was this way in 2023, where they run perpendicular to the fan stands. So it's a lot harder to see the trench stuff, because most of the stuff they're doing is on the like 20-yard line on the other side, on the far side of the field. So they're like 100 yards away, and I'm doing my best to kind of see, but most of what I can see is like secondary stuff. So it's a little harder from that perspective, but even so, it's training camp. We still get, from my perspective, there's still a decent amount that I can kind of glean from it. And I think that's objectively a good thing. I was just kind of chilling by myself up in the stands, had a couple people come up and say hi, which was really nice. And then, yeah, Dave, there was a lot of good and a lot of interesting stuff. Let's kind of put it that way. The interesting being, I didn't think we saw a ton from JJ McCarthy today. And let me kind of explain what I mean. Sometimes no news is good news when it comes to your quarterback, especially one like McCarthy who is in the process of learning. I didn't think he really did much of anything today. And I don't think that's an insult. I don't think it's really a compliment. He's just running the offense and getting comfortable. And this was kind of a no news day. The only two real takeaways I had, well, one, he got absolutely smoked during the 2-minute drill. I don't think much of that was his fault at all. Jonathan Grenard is just a game wrecker. When I ranked all 91 players in the Minnesota Vikings roster, he was third. And if you would have told me that going into last year when he was the Vikings' big free agent signing, I'd be like, no, I don't think so. Like, I think he's good, but is he that good? No, he's that good. And he was consistently in the backfield because they ended practice on a 2-minute drill. They were down 3, like a minute and a half left. And I think they usually give him 1 or 2 timeouts. And the idea is you need to go tie or win the game. It's pretty common drill. You see that a lot. But the Vikings offense couldn't do anything because the defensive front just attacked. And they were really, really good. Now, remember, no Darisaw. Will Fries was in at first team right guard with Donovan Jackson in at left guard. So I don't think...
I heard reported for that 2-minute drill, he was out.
I thought I saw him, but...
He was there during practice. He was during most of it. But the 2-minute drill, I've heard reported he was out for. And it was Brandel. Hargrave ate one of their lunch in that 2-minute drill. Because not only did Grenard get 2, JJ, so did Hargrave on one of those plays.
Yeah. And like I said, you could tell that McCarthy was just screwed because the defensive front was just completely dominant. And that's one of the tough parts about trying to evaluate a young quarterback is how do you handle that kind of stuff? And unfortunately, from my perspective, I really didn't see a whole lot because it's so hard to see from that purview, which is why I'm disappointed they flipped the fields. Because if this was a parallel field, I would have been able to see a lot better the pocket collapsing, how he was handling it, how he was maneuvering, how he was trying to see down the field, and all of those things. It was just too difficult for me to actually see what was going on, which is par for the course. It is what it is. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. But I do know the defense front was just absolutely infuriatingly good, which should be a continuing factor throughout the course of the season. I did see some good from JJ McCarthy, though. I thought during some of the 11-on-11 drills, he was using his eyes going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then coming all the way back. That was something I saw on his Michigan tape. He is not afraid to use his progressions and continue to go from point A to B to C to D, and then all the way back to A if need be. I think that's really good because it's all about process right now. You're not winning any games right now, but you are laying the foundation. If you lay a really good foundation for your house, you can build upon that really easily. But if you lay a cracked foundation, then you're going to see some struggles. And now you have to figure out, okay, well, I already have this house built on this bad foundation. What do I do? Is there a way to kind of sand jack it and fix it? Or are we in a position where we have to tear the whole thing down and start over? So I'm seeing really good things from that perspective. And now remember, we've heard good things about him in practice. This is only the second public practice. The first one I've been. So a lot of my knowledge coming in is what we're getting from the beat, what we're getting from clips at training camp. So it's not firsthand, it's not a firsthand foundation from that perspective. I'm trusting other people who are seeing this. Now that I'm getting a chance to see it, now we're starting to build that foundation itself. One thing I did see that was really, really impressive, Dave. I know I've talked about it, but do you know what the honey hole is?
Are you talking about the bucket in the corner of an end zone?
No. So I don't know how common it is, but the honey hole, it sounds really dirty, and it's not. It is.
It depends where you're at. In the military, the honey hole means something different.
Yes, it does. The honey hole is the spot in between the corner and the safety in cover 2. So when the corner stays flat and you get past the cornerback can rifle it through and hit you before the safety can get there. That's the honey hole. If you can pepper that in and just wait long enough to where the receiver clears the corner and pistol whip it, you can get pretty much free yardage. But it's not easy to hit, especially when you have good deep safeties. Theo Jackson barely missed an interception, and Lucky Jackson caught it and was able to kind of keep his balance in a similar but not similar way to how Stephon Diggs did on the Minneapolis Miracle, where it looked like he stumbled, but he kept himself up, and he would have ran right in for a touchdown. I do think in a game situation, Theo Jackson probably plays a little bit differently because there is no line of defense behind him. I do like what I saw from him, and I do like that he was willing to attack. And even if it was intercepted, I like that he's trying that throw because it's going to tell you, hey, can I make this throw in a game? If I've got a good deep safety back there, am I confident enough that I'm going to be able to get this in that hole?
The clip of that particular throw is out there on Twitter, by the way. You can take a look at it.
Yes, 100%. I want to see how you're growing that. I want to see how you're doing some of these things. And you need to figure out, okay, when can and can't I get away with doing this stuff? Those are good answers to find in training camp. It's also why I like interceptions in training camp, because interceptions in training camp are a learning opportunity. They help you continue to figure things out. They tell you if you can make some of these throws. And if you're able to make some of these throws, oh buddy, let me tell you, then you can really start expanding on that throughout the course of the season. And McCarthy, he was able to hit it. Now, does he feel super confident? Well, let's just put it this way. I hope he tries it a few more times during training camp, because if he hits it a couple more times, then you're going to see it in games. And then that's when you can really start eating up yards quickly. And it gives you the opportunities that you wouldn't necessarily have with other quarterbacks. Like Case Keenum would think he could hit that, but he couldn't hit it. Teddy Bridgewater couldn't hit it. Kirk Cousins, I'd say iffy. He doesn't. McCarthy has a much better arm from an intermediate standpoint. Now, Kirk Cousins' arm is very good, and if he needed to uncork one up the seam or in a tight window, he could do it. But it wasn't quite to the level of what JJ McCarthy has available to him in that intermediate range. He's got a little bit of an extra gear. It's like having a baseball pitcher who can throw a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, but JJ McCarthy can top out at like 100, but he usually throws around 97. That's kind of the level of difference we're talking about. It's not a lot, but that little bit can give you so much extra. And I think that little bit can matter significantly when you're talking about trying to fit it in the honey hole or fit it in between two defenders collapsing on a receiver. That matters. And that matters a lot. I'm really intrigued to see how he continues to evolve that, how he continues to grow. It's very, very interesting to kind of see how some of this stuff is going to end up playing out.
I saw one clip. They were doing passing drills, and it showed JJ throwing to a TJ Hawkinson coming across the middle.
Mm-hmm.
JJ threw that sucker on a rope.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no loft. It was a zip, bing, and perfect chest height. TJ grabbed it, turned upfield.
Yeah. One of the things, and I know somebody mentioned it, thanking me for kind of my video that I had on him before the draft last year. Thank you for that, by the way. And I wanted to reference that because one of the things I didn't like about McCarthy was I thought his deep arm strength wasn't that great. And I thought the intermediate stuff was fantastic, where you could see he could just rifle it in. But when he would throw deep, the ball would kind of sputter. It would die. Now, when he meant to throw 60 yards, it would kind of go like 55, and defenders would be able to catch back up to the receiver, that kind of stuff. So what I've kind of figured out by talking to people is a lot of that was mechanical. And when you fix the mechanics, the ball won't die as much because the arm strength is there. It's all about unlocking it. And I do think some of the issues he has was swinging his hips a little bit. Like when you roll a bowling ball, your back leg kind of kicks out. But if you kick it out way too hard or too far, it'll impact how you're throwing. You want to kick it out just right. It's kind of the same thing when you're throwing a football. You don't want to over rotate your hips. You want to not have your foot really come off the ground that much. You don't want to have a wind up like a baseball pitcher. You want it to be much more subdued and controlled. I do think from what we saw at Michigan to what we're seeing now, he has that under control. And because he has it under control, you're able to unlock a little bit more with that arm strength because he's using what he has available to him in a smarter way. It's more efficient. And that's one thing I'm really excited about because those little things that you won't necessarily get at the college level. You only get 20 hours a week, and you got to win football games. And winning football games in college is arguably more important on a game-by-game basis than it is in the pros. So you focus more on what they're good at rather than trying to fix what they're not. In the NFL, it's a 17-game grind. So if you lose 2-3 games, it doesn't matter. It's like baseball. Every team wins 60 or 54. Every team loses 54. It's what you do with the other 54 that matters. It's somewhat similar in the NFL. Every team's going to win a few. Every team's going to lose a few. But it's the like the other 10-ish games that you really need, that really shows and separates a good team from a great team from a bad team. And I think because it's one loss is less impactful on an NFL schedule than it is on a college football schedule, you can spend more time working with guys on stuff that they're bad at versus what you would in college. And all of that's to say, I think him getting more opportunities to work on some of these things in the NFL level versus the college level is going to help him become a better pro quarterback in theory than he was a college quarterback. And the college quarterback thing, he's never going to get a fair shake because of the offense that he played in and the team that was surrounding him. Like, people are like, oh, he had a quarterback for head coach. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh, notoriously uber conservative head coach who wants to run the piss out of the football and barely throw. Like, if Jim Harbaugh had it his way, his quarterbacks would throw like 15 to 20 times a game, and they would run down your throat for 250 every week. That's just how he likes to play. And he's a former quarterback, but he also understands how hard it is to throw the ball, and running the ball is a quarterback's best friend. And that's how Michigan was. It wasn't because McCarthy wasn't good. It was because of who he was, who Jim Harbaugh was. And I'm really, really intrigued to kind of see how some of that manifests here for the Minnesota Vikings. Overall, really not a lot to take from McCarthy's day otherwise. It was a lot of bog standard stuff, a lot of individual drills where they're just running basic routes and practicing throwing like outs, slants, short crossers, doing some play action stuff. So not a lot. And I think, you know what? Sometimes that's okay, because what you don't necessarily see on a consistent basis is some of those basics. So being consistent with those and continuing to maximize those, I think, is going to be huge, long and short term for this franchise. And I'm okay having really not a whole lot to report about McCarthy, because sometimes that's good.
Yeah, it looked like he had an okay day until the 2-minute drill where he got, as Will Raggett put it, didn't have time to breathe. And I'm sure Kevin O'Connell will be talking to the lineman on that one. He did get off one completion to TJ Hawkinson during the 2-minute, and there was offsides or something like that on one of the other plays, but
yeah,
it was
the
not
offense.
Good.
Yeah, it was rough. And I'll say this. The offense should be worse than the defense at this point. It's easier on defense than it is on offense, especially when it comes to chemistry stuff. So if the defense is really good and the offense isn't, don't read into it. If it's still like this in 2 weeks, all right, maybe we can be concerned.
It's not going to be.
It's not. And that's kind of the point. It's just okay for the defense to be better right now.
Yeah. Now, you saw some other stuff during your time there.
Yes, I did. So there were some interesting things. Punt return battle. I saw 5 guys taking punts, just catching them. Myles Price, Rondale Moore, Tai Felton, Silas Bolden, Dontae Fleming. All 5 guys were just rotating, catching it, doing some basic drills. I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention. Otherwise, I was kind of getting all my bearings together. It was the very beginning of practice. But those were the guys I saw in that group. Now, who's going to win the job? I really don't think it's going to be Silas Bolden. He is so small. He is so small. And I do think...
Is he smaller than Rondale Moore?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Rondale Moore weighs close to 200 pounds, Dave. He's thick.
Yeah, but he's still diminutive of size. And if Silas Bolden's smaller than that, he's going to get killed.
Silas Bolden's almost 40 pounds smaller than Rondale Moore. Like, we're talking 2-2 at-will size. I do think that, like, Bolden looks a little bit quicker live in person than his athletic testing will tell you, than his film will tell you. And I think that gives him a little bit more of an advantage in my eyes. But I don't love him to make the roster because I don't think he's anything outside of this guy is only a return gadget guy. And if you're only a return gadget guy, you better be great at that. And I think you're going to see some really interesting return stuff. Like if Tai Felton shows that he can be the punt returner, well, guess what? That's a roster spot that's already guaranteed. Now you have that spot filled and you can use this roster spot for something else. Maybe a cornerback, maybe an extra defensive lineman, maybe a tight end, because there's some interesting guys. Tony, yes, Rondale Moore is coming off a serious injury, but it sounds like he's fine. Not on the PUP list. Marzipan is running around like a little crazy person. Hey, what's this?
Yeah, he tore up his ACL last year, Tony. And it was supposedly severe, whatever that means. Whether he took bone off with a tendon, I don't know.
There was some other damage, including the ACL. Mm-hmm. So it was described at the time as very bad. And whereas, like, when Teddy had his knee dislocation, he was relatively lucky in that the only ligament that was severely damaged was the ACL. Like, there wasn't like a torn MCL, PCL, and LCL. Like, it could have been.
Lucky he didn't.
Oh, there are other things that were wrong.
Arteries.
Yeah, but it the end result was like it was a knee dislocation and a torn ACL, but they didn't have to do like this massive reconstruction of the knee. Adrian Peterson, I think he tore his ACL and MCL, which if you tear your MCL, sometimes like what happened with TJ Hawkinson, they had to wait an extra month because they had to wait for the swelling in the MCL to go down. And that ended up being a problem, and it kept him out an extra month because of that.
Daniel asks, are you announcing your exclusive deal with Busch Light?
Hey, if anybody is a representative with Busch Light or knows anybody that works for Anheuser-Busch in any capacity, please put me in contact. I would love to love to have a deal with Busch Light. Have not been able to announce it yet. Norsefius, this is great, Dave, asked if we named Marzipan after a pharmaceutical. No, it would have been very funny. I actually made a joke when we got Odie that we should name him after some pharmaceuticals because my wife is a pharmacist. So that would kind of fit with like the motif of the family. But no, all of the rescue dogs we've had have been named after food. And Marzipan is a French bakery item, I believe. So
your favorite hobbies, food
and beer. Mm-hmm. I love me some food and beer.
Now, you wanted to talk about Dwight McGlothern, but I also heard with Isaiah Rodgers out for a second day that Blackman was replacing Rodgers in the lineup.
Mm-hmm. He was. I didn't notice Rodgers out for everything, but I did notice that he wasn't doing a lot of the team stuff. Jeff Okudah is firmly, I don't think I saw him work with the twos once. So that's something to be aware of. And all the information that we were getting at the beginning of camp from the beat seems to be legit, where Okudah is that guy. I started watching some Okudah film, trying to figure out, okay, why do the Vikings think that he's going to be a guy? Why do they think that they can unlock more out of him? My theory is this. Okudah is the likes of modern day Shaq Griffin and Stephon Gilmore, but he's a much better athlete and he can run and flip his hips with some of these younger guys. And that was his big thing coming out of college, was he had such smooth hips and he could flip and run in an instant. And a lot of the issues that you had with Griffin and Gilmore last year were they would be a step behind, and that would be the difference between a catch and a possible pass breakup. I think Okudah fixes that one specific thing. And because of that, I think you're in a really good spot. Now, is that going to end up translating 1-to-1 where he's going to be able to kind of fix everything else? Where he's had some really rough spots and he's gotten hurt. But that's kind of the question. Last year, the Texans kind of played, when he did play, he was playing a lot of press man. The Vikings don't really do a lot of press man. So how's he going to do with off man? How's he going to do with just straight drop zone? Because some of the translatable reps, it's not going to be like a 1-to-1. I think that's going to be an interesting thing to follow and monitor. I'm very interested to see what the Vikings plan is for Okudah long term. I don't think we're going to really know what that is until week 1, but it's notable that he's getting those snaps over Blackman. And we're just going to have to monitor it. I thought Blackman, the reps, I really noticed him. I thought he looked okay. I didn't think he looked phenomenal. But look, it's first day of pads. It's when separation starts. Rob, I think Luke Braun's theory on that is pretty close to what I'm thinking so far during my watch. Like, he plays just this aggressive, confident style. And if you can just get him to taper that off a little bit, I think you can eliminate some of those mistakes. But I was really impressed with Dwight McGlothern. I think he looks like a much better player than he did last year. He looks a little bit bigger, not a ton. He's a relatively slender guy. But one thing that I found interesting was how, like, he had a interception on a comeback route that Rondale Moore was running. But he never got out of the hip pocket. So he was right on him the whole time. And the second that Moore started to slow down and drop those hips to turn around, McGlothern had already done so and got right in front of the ball and picked it. Made it look so easy. And that's the kind of stuff that you really want to see. You want to see improvement from your young players. And he looks like the most improved guy on the roster right now. I think that's something that you can't overstate. It's something that you can't necessarily be uber excited about, but you should be somewhat excited. You want to see these young players grow and develop. And if you do, buddy, if all of a sudden, like, a guy like McGlothern can be your CB4, now he would have to surpass one of Okudah or Blackman, but that's a huge win. Even if he's your CB5 and you feel comfortable him playing reps, well, guess what? Rotate him in. Like, I like kind of where we're at. I thought he had a couple other really good reps too, where he's staying patient. He's got length. He's got speed. But what's interesting, and we'll talk about Zamiah Vaughn as well, neither one of them have this elite lateral quickness with their athletic testing. It's very meh. Vaughn's is actually relatively poor. But when you're talking linear movement, north and south, they're elite of the elite. Very explosive, very fast, very quick. But the second you ask him to do lateral stuff, that's where theoretically it gets a little rough. But
then keep him on the outside.
Well, even so, the outside, yeah, I agree. But you still have to be able to deal with breaking routes and being able to plant your foot in the ground and then flip those hips and cut back inside. Those are the things where if you don't have that kind of lateral quickness, you can get beat. And the way I saw McGlothern start to move, and Vaughn too, I thought they both moved really well. Vaughn is very funny to watch on the field. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. I tweeted that I thought he looked like Billy Madison playing dodgeball with the kindergartners, because he just looks so much bigger than some of these smaller guys, like towering over them. He's 6'2.5", about 186 pounds, 32-inch arms, which are very long for a corner. In context, like Richard Sherman had gnarly long arms. He was like 33.5 inches. And that kind of length can just separate you from everybody else. And I think when you have Vaughn and he's able to do some of that stuff, I think it gives you a little bit of an advantage because you have this length to be able to get in and knock some of the stuff down. And I really liked what Vaughn brought to the table. I thought Vaughn looked really good. And he moved much better in and out of breaks than I expected. I also only saw him with the second team. Now, how much of that could have been no Isaiah Rodgers? I don't know. That is a whole nother discussion point. Because, look, if you're with the twos right now as a UDFA, Dave, that's great. That's fantastic. I love it. But we'll kind of see how that ends up manifesting for the Vikings.
Well, you know they're going to keep at least 6 corners. So
I like Vaughn. I think Vaughn has been very good. I gotta edit something real quick. Perfect. But yeah, I thought the defense had a lot. One thing to note, and I think this is intentional. I don't recall seeing Dallas Turner much at all with the first team. And I don't think that matters. If he did, it would have been with that 2-minute drill where it was just so hard for me to see anything.
Well, I know it was a clip to, I want to say, Fleming. And it wasn't, disregard, it wasn't again, it was Fleming, but it was our second stringer, QB. And he, Dallas Turner, ate his lunch. Absolutely ate his lunch. It was a sack. Thank you, Miss Mary. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, stuff like Super Chats is a great way to help support my my hour-long pilgrimage to each Vikings practice. I think you mentioned Turner got a little bit of a run. It was hard for me to see all the rotations with some of that, but I did see just when team drills, he's with the twos. And I do think that's relatively noteworthy, and it doesn't matter at all at the same time. The noteworthy part is they are hiding these 3 edge rusher packages, and they don't want to expose them because I think they're going to run different styles of 3 edge rusher packages with this group versus what they did last year because they don't have the beefy boys like Pat Jones and Jihad Ward. And those guys are now just going to be defensive tackles. So now that you have this new era of 3 edge rushers with Van Ginkel, Grenard, and Turner, you're going to see different levels. You're going to see different things from these guys. I think that they're intentionally hiding it. So Turner being on the second team, I don't care. Doesn't matter. I'd like to see how these 3 edge rusher packages are going to look like, but I think we're going to have to wait for week 1. And I think that's when we'll start deploying them. But my guess is we don't see a lot of those until week 3. And they're going to want to keep some of that off the field for when they play the Bengals, because that's going to be like feels like their first big game. Where
as long as they're winning on the other first 2. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're going to want to throw some surprises at Joe Burrow and not give him a lot of stuff to really dive in on the table.
For. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's some interesting stuff from that perspective. But overall, I thought the defense looked really good. The offense wasn't able to do a ton. I will say, I want to give credit to Max Brosmer.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Brosmer doesn't get a lot of opportunities, and he won't get a lot of opportunities. Why? It's because he's QB4. That's just kind of the nature of it. They did rotate in Brosmer with some of the individual drills, the basic passing stuff. But team, he's not going to get a ton of opportunities. This was the same with Jaron Hall 2 years ago. QB4 is not a spot that gives you a lot of opportunities. You are mainly used for like handoff drills and that kind of stuff, which is fine. That's just the nature of it. Brosmer did get an opportunity with team. I'm 99% sure. I was in the process of typing. I think he did throw an interception at the very beginning of his opportunities, but then he had a really nice ball, and I thought this was impressive. The pocket collapsed on him. He escaped it. I'm pretty sure it technically would have been considered a sack for training camp purposes, but he escaped the pocket on the run, threw a really nice ball up the field to Myles Price, got 2 feet in, and it was a throw that you would expect a guy like JJ McCarthy to make. And I thought him doing that is good because you want to see how well he's going to be able to do some of that stuff. But you don't get a lot of opportunities to see him. So when he does make those plays, when he does get those opportunities to throw the ball, you got to make the most of it. I thought he did. I thought that play was really, really nice and a good summation of what he can bring to the table. And will he get an opportunity to throw a lot during the preseason? I sure hope so, because I think Brosmer's got a skill set that Kevin O'Connell theoretically could really utilize. And at the very least, Dave, I think that like Brosmer's, everybody speaks so highly of him. I bet he could end up being a really good coach down the line. So maybe this is a guy like O'Connell likes to bring in guys that remind him of himself. Like Brett Rippon doesn't have a good arm, but by all accounts, he's great to have in the building. And maybe Max Brosmer is that same way.
Did you see Rippon at all throw a ball today?
During some of the individual stuff, I don't remember seeing him with team.
Okay.
And maybe they're just going to rotate the little bit you get from the third or fourth quarterbacks between Rippon and Brosmer. They may just give Brosmer more of those opportunities, and I hope they do, because I think they already know what they have with Rippon, and they want to see what they have with Brosmer. So we'll monitor that over the course of the next few weeks.
Did you get a chance to hear your buddy Thor Nystrom talk to Judd and report? He's reporting on how they plan to use JJ during the preseason?
No.
Thor reported that the Vikings' plan is to use JJ McCarthy only in the first preseason game, probably for 2 or 3 series. That's it. And then he's sat for the remaining 2 preseason games. Then you're going to get Brosmer and company.
Not too surprising.
No, not at all. Same thing they did with Sam last year.
I didn't think we would see him at all in the second preseason game, because you're going to get 2 days of joint practices, and joint practices mean more than the game itself. So that makes a ton of sense. And the last preseason game, starters never play in that game anyways. The only time starters play in that game is if you're just short on bodies and you're a lower end starter, or if you're a starter that's in danger of losing their job. Like I think Ed Ingram, because they just needed bodies, played like a series or 2 against the Eagles, and then they ended up taking him out relatively quickly. But anyways. Yes. But that's what I mean, like the lower end starters. Those are the guys that are going to get any snaps at all in those games. Couple other things that I wanted to point out. Dontae Fleming, the UDFA out of Tulane, thought had a nice day. When you're a back end of the roster kind of guy, when you just get opportunities to do anything, you need to take advantage of it. He caught a couple nice deep balls, and I thought that really stood out to me, because I haven't necessarily seen him a lot do some of these things. Had one during like individual kind of drills, and then one during team. He was able to show some separation, good what do you call it? Good ball tracking. And within those things, he came down with the ball and was able to keep distance between him and the defender. Like, it's just really good stuff. He's going against defenders that aren't necessarily going to make the team. They're like the back end, but you have to make plays somewhere. And when you make plays against those guys, then you'll end up earning more opportunities against higher level players on the roster. And maybe this is just a one-off, but I thought Fleming had himself a really nice day. Because Fleming had a really nice day, now you're in a really, really good spot, both short and long term over the course of this training camp. I thought it was noteworthy that I saw 2 of them. One is like, okay, that's awesome, but you do it twice. That opens my eye a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Couple more things. Actually, that's most of what I have.
I do believe it is, and I've asked questions that you haven't. So, overall impression of today, how was the crowd?
There really wasn't a whole lot to like cheer. It was a Monday, so the bleachers were relatively empty. I'll be honest, it wasn't like a practice to really like get the crowd involved. It was, hey, we're just gonna practice and you're here. Which that's what you should be doing. You should be doing stuff to improve your football team, not necessarily appease the people who spend $10 to get in. I do think, they'll start doing more of that stuff over the course of time. More like one-on-one type drills, more team-friendly drills. But I really hate that they flipped the fields. Oh, it was so nice to watch when it was a horizontal field because everything felt really close. But I think for the joint practices, they like to have them vertically for when you're on the bleachers. So you can like kind of see everything.
It could be for wear and use.
That could be too. But yeah, I thought it was a good practice. I'm not going to tell you that it was like this life-changing experience, but the Vikings do a really good job of putting on an entertaining show. They have a bunch of stuff for kids on like the actual field. Like the night practice is fun, but there's a lot less to actually glean from night practice versus day practice. Night practice is more of a show. Mm-hmm. Day practice is more about putting work in. And I'm very intrigued to see over the course of my time during camp, because I'm going to try and make both joint practices. Those are 2 for sure I want to go to, but my brother also gets married that weekend, so it might be a little tough for me to do that. But I'm excited to kind of go back, and I'll probably go at least one more time this week and see, okay, how are things evolving? How are things changing? Where are things different from what I saw earlier on in the process? Those are the things that I want to see. And I do think that this team has a chance to be really good. Thursday?
You can report like you did tonight.
Yeah. I think Thursday is definitely doable. I got to make sure the tickets are available because credential hasn't happened quite yet. We're still working on it. But as you can imagine, Vikings PR, they're very busy this time of year. So that might not come till next year. Man, we'll make do as we can. But yeah, otherwise it was good. Traffic on 494 was great. I got home way quicker. I thought we'd have to push the show back like a half hour, 45 minutes. We got to go right on time. So always great. But yeah, Thursday, I'll probably try and go again. For the live YouTube audience, make sure you pay attention day of. There is a chance that we don't start on time. What we've decided, just kind of based on what I know about the drive home, is I know when I'm a half hour away from home, and at that point I'll give Dave a call, and then it'll be about 45 minutes until showtime. So we're gonna try and shoot for 6:05. But if I get home at like 6:30, we'll go about 15 minutes later. Give me a chance to catch my bearings, and we'll inform you as soon as we can when the official start time of the show will be. So please pay attention. That's why we ask you to like, subscribe, and ring the bell, because Dave will schedule the show. We'll put up a post or something to say, hey, the show's going to be at X time, so you know what's going on. But we're at the mercy of construction traffic in Minnesota. And anybody who's ever been to Minnesota knows how annoying that is. So just be prepared for that.
It's not just Minnesota. Construction sucks everywhere.
Oh, I can't speak for anywhere else other than Minnesota and North Dakota. So it is what it is, but we're going to be here ASAP to give you all the details. And this is going to be, it's going to be a lot of fun. If you want to continue to support us and our journey to training camp, those super chats exist, and a good like, subscribe, ring the bell, and comment on the show works just as well. We're appreciative of everything.
Past 5,800 subscribers.
Ooh.
On our way to 6,000.
Let's get to 6,000 before the season starts. I think that would be real cool. And I think with how the algorithm changes with YouTube, because now people are really into football again, unlike us, where we're just degenerates. We're into football 24/7. Go Blue Bombers, 3-3. I can't believe they lost 3 in a row, but that is what it is. So we'll have fun. We'll be back Thursday, and we're going to have a lot more preview stuff for the 2025 season over the course of the next 6 weeks, and you won't want to miss it. Thank you guys so much. I'm Tyler. He's Dave. SKOL Vikings.
SKOL Vikings. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications. It helps us grow this community that we all love, our Minnesota Vikings. And on behalf of Tyler Forness and myself, Dave Stefano, thank you so dearly for watching The Real Forno Show. SKOL, everyone.